Welcome, everybody. I hope you're in the right place. You should be here if you're looking to do the Humanities and Social Science admission stream. Presentation. So I hope that you're excited to learn a little bit about what we're going to be doing today. My name is Jack. I was already introduced. I am the Assistant Registrar advising. If you do have any questions, do feel free to put them in the chat. I'm also going to try to leave a good chunk of time at the end of the presentation to do a little bit of demoing with the timetable builder and to just answer questions. So if there's anything burning, do let me know. My colleague Guyan is also in the chat and is going to be posting links, and she'll let me know if there's any super urgent questions. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I want to talk about is just give you an idea of what I think our big plan is for both, of course, your degree, but then also for thinking about what this session is about. So first and foremost, when you're approaching your plan for choosing courses in your first year here at the University of Toronto, you really need to have a good idea of what the programs are that you want to take. As Denise talked about, that's going to be the core of what you're studying here as an undergraduate. Once you've made a decision on those programs, you're going to take a look at what the courses are you need to take to get into those programs, or if you're taking an open enrollment program, you're going to take a look at the courses you should be taking as a first-year student for that open enrollment program. And then once you've figured out what those courses are, you're going to top up the rest of your course load with electives. And then hopefully, after you proceed through that, you're going to get into your programs, you're going to complete your courses over the years, and then you're ultimately going to graduate. So what we want to talk about first is the different kinds of programs you can get into. So as a humanities and social science admission stream student, you've probably got a lot of different ideas about the things that you might study. You are definitely in the broadest category in the Faculty of Arts and Science, and there are a lot of things that you can study that you probably don't even realize you can study. And so the very first thing you're going to want to do when you're starting your research is take a good long look at the academic calendar, which Denise has already shown, so I won't bother going to that screen at this point. Once you have a rough idea of what your programs might be, you're going to just start looking at the courses you want to take for that. And then also, you're going to bear in mind that as a first-year student, you're going to have room for electives no matter what. So even if there are programs that you want to take and you're like, oh, but I'm really still interested in this one specific area, do bear in mind you're always going to have the ability to take those first-year foundation seminars, one courses, a language, whatever it is you want to do. So this should be review. Oh, I zoomed past. This should be review, but the programs that you need to take to earn a degree, there's 3 combinations, one of which is a specialist, one of which is 2 majors, one of which is 1 major and 2 minors. You're going to be enrolling in these programs after your first year, and so your goal is to take the courses you need to get into the programs that you want. Bear in mind that you're also going to be separately completing your full list of degree requirements that Denise talked about, which includes those 20 credits, which means you're going to have room for elective courses. There's different kinds of programs. There's basically 2, but the second one has 2 sort of types. One kind is the open enrollment program, and here's an example from the calendar. The idea with an open enrollment program is that it's fully open to enroll in. So after your first year, when the program enrollment period starts, you're just going to add this program. Nothing's going to stop you. And then you just go ahead and you take the courses you need to complete the program. This is an example of the Writing and Rhetoric minor, which is offered through the Innis College. So this might be something you're interested in doing. Another, the sort of first part of the second set is the limited enrollment program. Now, these programs, there are specific requirements for. Listed here is the economics major. You can see you need to take a couple of economics courses. You can see that you need to take a couple of math courses. At the end of your first year, you're then going to request this program in Acorn. The department is going to go into your courses. They're going to take a look and make sure that you earn the grades that you need to get. And as long as you meet these thresholds, you get the 63 in your eco courses, you get the 60 in your math courses, they will send you an invite, at which point you go into Acorn, you accept the invite, and you're in the program. The other half of the limited enrollment programs are the competitive programs. So these are programs that have only a limited number of spots, and you're competing against other students to get one of those spots at the end of the year. So here's an example of the cinema studies major. There's only one course that you need to take to get in. It's either CEN 105 or CEN 201, but it does not list a specific grade. In this case, your goal is to get the highest grade you possibly can because you are competing against other students that want this major to see who gets admitted. As you can see, it lists that a final grade lower than 70 will not even be considered. Realistically, you're probably going to want something a lot higher than that. We're talking 75 or more. And so with these competitive programs, the thing to keep in mind is that you really are shooting for the highest grades possible. And even with those high grades, there's a risk that you're not going to get in. Some programs also have focuses. Majors and specialists both will have focuses. Usually focuses are optional. Some specific cases, they're mandatory, and the departments will clarify in their program descriptions if focuses are mandatory. You can add focuses on Acorn, sort of like a program, and the idea is that you complete these focuses as part of the larger program requirements you are completing for a major or a specialist. And should you complete that focus, you get a notation on your transcript at the end of your degree that says that you have that focus in that particular program. So this focus in data analytics, for example, is tied to the economics major. If you complete that focus, you get the economics major with a focus in data analytics. And lastly, there's certificates. So certificates are not programs. They're typically 2 credits or less. They don't go against your total of programs. However, same idea with the programs. You can enroll in them on Acorn. If you complete the programs, you get a notation at the end of or on your transcript at the end of your studies saying that you completed it. A really popular option is the certificate in business fundamentals. There was a lot of questions related to this idea of how many credits do I have to complete, and what about these 20 credits that I need for my degree? You can do certificates as part of those 20 credits that are not needed for your programs. Felix, I just saw that question in there. FCE means full credit equivalent or full course equivalent. So you need 20 FCEs or 20 credits in order to earn your degree. So that's a rundown of the various programs that are available to you that you are going to be trying to make a decision about in advance of your course enrollment. The last thing that I want to mention really quickly is that some programs will have an ASIP stream, the Arts and Science Internship Program. Not all of them will have it. I strongly encourage you to go look at the ASIP website to take a look at the sort of programs that do have an internship stream. For ASIP, the idea is usually what happens is in your first couple of, once you get admitted, assuming you get admitted, you take a couple of professional development courses in your second year and your third year that are helping you get ready for doing an internship. You then take a year off of study and you do an internship for a year, and then you return for a fourth year and graduate. So in total, it takes you 5 years. Students do tend to get a lot out of the ASIP program. They really enjoy the professional development piece. Obviously, you get an opportunity to work and make some money in the middle of your degree, which is great. And then they also give you all kinds of supports in terms of accessing employment. So it's a great option if you are looking at programs that have an ASIP stream. And again, you can look at the ASIP page to get a sense of which programs have ASIP streams and how to apply. Okay, so that was a quick rundown of the various kinds of programs you might apply for. I do want to leave as much time as possible at the end, but are there any burning questions? You can just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask, and then we can move right on.
You know that something is a competitive program if they only show that you need to take one course to get into it in your first year, or do they say like, oh, this is competitive and you need to get above this grade?
Good question. So it's going to be the second one. So let me just very quickly zoom back to that slide. Actually, you know what? I've got the calendar here. You guys can see the calendar right now, right? I just want to make sure that you're seeing
Yeah.
me. Yeah, great. Okay. So if we look at cinema studies, that's the example we were talking about. The language you're looking for is specifically this, the variable minimum grade. It looks a little bit different depending on the department, but it's always going to be something along the lines of there is a minimum average, you have to meet it. Sometimes they will give you a listed grade. They'll be nice and say it's 70%. In other cases, they won't say what it is, and they will not tell you no matter what, and you just need to get the best grade possible. Okay.
If you're thinking about switching from like humanities to social science, is there and like you're trying to get like enrolling courses like in the social science stream, like is there going to be like a lower chance you'll get those classes?
Great question. Yeah. So your admission stream only really matters in this first year of study. And the only thing it does is it might impact the enrollment controls you have for courses. Some courses may specifically say they have an enrollment control for students in the social science admission stream versus the humanities admission stream. Generally, they don't. Usually the case is that you're going to end up getting the same priorities for both. So it's not going to have a meaningful impact on your studies. We are going to look at course descriptions in the timetable builder in the next section, and we'll talk about priority controls. So let's leave that for that piece. Maybe one more question before we go.
Yeah, Jack, there's a question in the chat. Are you considered a full-time student during the work term in ASIP?
Oh, yes. So Hannah, you are considered a full-time student for that period. That answer gets a little bit complicated, but if you're asking specifically, usually the reason that this comes up is in the context of immigration and international students. It is a period where you're considered a full-time student, yes. And then, sorry, last thing. So Tallulah, a focus. So focuses are specifically, let me just go back to my slide for this. Focuses are not always available for programs, but if they are available, they are clusters of courses that exist within a major or a specialist. And should you take that cluster of courses whilst completing your major or specialist requirements, you will also earn that focus. So in this case, for the data analytics major focus, if you happen to take the right sequence of courses or the right collection of courses within your economics major that earns the data analytics focus, and it'll list the courses in the calendar, then you will both get the major along with the focus in data analytics. Hopefully that clarifies that for you. Okay, great. So let's move on to the next section. So now we're going to talk about courses. We have an idea that we know that we need programs. As first-year students, our priority is to think about what our programs are going to be. But then, of course, we need to think a little bit about our courses. Now, I do want to clarify, because this causes some confusion. I know that we talked about the 20 credits and the degree requirements. There's roughly 2 delineations. Now, these aren't official terms. I'm just using these as shorthand, but I think that they are helpful. It's important to notice that there is a difference between your program courses and your electives. So when we were talking about the economics major, for example, you saw that you needed those first-year economics courses. You saw that you needed those first-year math courses. Those would be considered program courses for you because you need those for your economics major. In the case that you are taking program courses, they cannot be credit no credited, which means that these are courses, the option to credit no credit, which Denise alluded to very briefly, but the option to, you have 2 credits, 2 FCEs worth of credit no credits in your full undergraduate degree, and you can designate courses with credit no credit. If you do that, what that means is that there's no grade associated for the course. You simply pass it or you fail it. And so you can add credit no credit to courses that you are interested in, but you're scared are going to drag down your average. It's a really great option for electives. So electives are courses that you specifically expect will not be needed to complete your programs. So in the case that you're going for economics, but you wanted to take an English course, that English course for you would definitely be an elective. If you were an English student and you wanted to take that English course would definitely be a program course, but an economics course would be an elective. Under the circumstances that you're taking, so your electives are usually used to fill in your remaining degree requirements, like those breadth requirements, like those remaining 20 credits after your program requirements. Ariel, I see your question here. Do we request to enroll in courses for the whole year? Yes, you do. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that when we get to the timetable builder, but you absolutely do that. Yes. So courses will all have sections. Sections are the things that you are actually going to be enrolling in a quarter. So when we go look at a course description and we look at a course, how it's structured, you're going to see that they all have these sections and these section codes. Now, all courses are going to have a lecture section or an LEC. This is the primary section for the course. It's where the prof does most of the instructing. Most courses that you're going to take will have a tutorial section or a TUT. This is usually where you meet in a smaller group with a TA and you discuss the material in the course. And then some few courses will have practicals or PRAs. These are mostly going to be labs for science courses, so you won't really encounter these as students in this admission stream. But the important thing is that when you're enrolling in courses, you need one of each type of section that actually exists for the course, and you need this for every course. There's also specific opportunities for you as a first-year student. There's the first year foundation ones programs and the first year foundations seminar courses. And so there's a small distinction between the two. I'll just try to explain that really quickly here. So for the first year foundation seminars, what these are specifically are small class sizes. These are courses that are structured similarly to an upper year seminar course. So they're supposed to sort of simulate the experience of being a fourth year student in a seminar style format with a prof, where you're sitting down, you're talking about a very specific area of interest. It's very participation based, and it's meant to allow you to explore a very specific interest. And so if you look at the various options for first year foundation courses, and Guyana has provided some links to what, but the ones at the full calendar of all seminar courses, you're probably going to really like them. There's also specifically 17 of these seminars that are tied to Innis specifically. And what that means is that as an Innis student, during the priority enrollment period, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, you will have priority access to these courses. So before any other first year students in all the other colleges, you'll be able to join one of these 17 first year foundation seminars before anybody else. So hopefully you can find a course in that list that looks really interesting. And if you want to take a seminar, you really ought to take one of the Innis ones. Ariel, do you have to enroll separately in TUTs and such, or are they just components of the one class that we will be doing? You have to enroll in them separately. We'll talk about that when we get to the timetable builder. It'll be a little bit clearer then. So here is a video that some of the instructors for the first year foundation courses have set up to talk to you about their courses. I'm actually just going to jump on over to YouTube specifically for this, just because it looks a little bit better. But do please give this a watch.
Hi, my name is Adam Naiman. I'm a sessional lecturer here at Innis College. I do all sorts of things involving film in Toronto, and the course that I teach for a while now is about film in Toronto, INI 100.
Hello, my name is Annalie Popham, and I'm an instructor of INI 102, Storytelling Through Creative Nonfiction.
Hi, my name is Khamutal Dotan, and I am teaching the first year seminar in literary journalism.
The way that the Innis 1 courses are designed is to sort of give students a chance not just to get used to taking courses in the various Innis streams, but maybe especially for students who are interested in bridging into film studies, you sort of take a look at film history, you take a look at film form and technique, you sort of deal with the idea of studying cultural objects in a particular context, but it's also not limited to film studies students, and it's not a prerequisite or a co-requisite for anything.
You don't need any previous experience to join this course. Whether you identify as a writer who's been writing since you were very young, or you've never written a personal essay before, this course is an opportunity to expand your skills, explore different elements of craft, and get to know each other within a very interactive and welcoming environment.
Students really have a chance to let go of some of the rules that we were all taught in middle school and in high school about how to write, about that really sort of formulaic essay structure. You get to be much more creative. You come up with ideas about what you want to explore over the course of the semester, and then what we do is we come up with an individual plan so you can build up to writing an article the way that a journalist would.
If your first experience of Toronto is showing up in the classroom, that is fine. You do not have to be a film student. You do not have to be a Toronto resident. It's designed as a first-year class. It's designed to sort of bring people on board, give people an entry point.
You'll learn craft elements like how to work with metaphor, how to avoid the pitfalls of cliché, how to write fully rounded characters, and other elements of craft. You'll also learn different tools like journaling and free writing and more.
So much of school is structured around this sort of top-down model where teachers, professors tell you this is what's right and wrong, and you learn it and then you sort of say it back, whether that's in a test or in an essay. Journalism doesn't function in the same way. Journalism is a function of going out into the world and exploring and then reporting on what you find there. And it really builds a capacity to have some confidence in your own judgment and in your own capacity to convey whatever it is that you found to other people.
So the only thing you need to take the class is, hopefully wanting to do it. And I hope that you do.
Okay. So,
hi, my name's Adam.
Oh, of course, it's gonna play that. So, the other, they were just talking about some of the options for specifically the Innis 1's programs courses. So these courses are part of the Innis 1. The Innis 1's called Storytelling and Society. This is what their courses specifically are for. Their courses are very, very, very similar to the other seminar courses that we just discussed. The key difference is that these courses are arranged to work sort of together and in sequence and as a group with the intention of giving you this theme of storytelling and society in the Torontonian context. You may have looked at other one programs as well. You are welcome to apply to and be a part of other one's programs as an Innis student. I do want to point out that if you did not know about Monk 1, Trin 1, or Vic 1 before, their application periods have already passed, unfortunately. But aside from those courses, you can enroll in one's programs courses like any other seminar. So you can effectively treat them as the same thing. Okay, so that's a rundown of the course options that we have to talk about. We have to talk about your program courses. We have to talk about your elective courses. And for those elective courses, we really wanted to emphasize those first year foundation seminars and first year foundations 1 programs courses. So now what I want to do is something a little bit more practical. I just want to take a look at the timetable builder, which hopefully you're going to get familiar with because it's a really, really useful tool for figuring out how to enroll in courses. So here is the timetable builder. The first thing that we have to do is we have to set our filters to use this system properly because it is for the whole U of T. So if somebody could just shout out for me, what's your faculty? Anybody at all?
Arts and science.
Thank you. Yes, you're a faculty of arts and science student. You're obviously not enrolling in summer courses. So when you use this system, you want to make sure that you switch this over to the fall winter because you're going to be joining the fall winter 2025, 2026. So these are the basic filters that we need to set up to use the timetable builder effectively for our course planning. I'm just going to go ahead and look at Eco 101 for now, and we can just look at some other options after that. So if you are interested in doing economics, you know that you have to enroll in an economics, a suite of economics courses, and you should be doing Eco 101 and Eco 102. So the first thing that we want to look at when we look at this course description, hopefully this is just review. We can see it's obviously at 101, so it's the first year course. We know that we need this for the program that we want to take. What's the difference between F and S? You can just put it in the chat. You can shout it out.
Fall versus winter.
Exactly. Yeah. So fall versus winter. So 101 makes sense that it's probably sequentially before Eco 102. And so our goal is to take it in the first term of the academic year. So this is what you're going to look at when you're looking at your course. So there's a bunch of different things you want to look at. The first thing that I want to point out is just to make sure that you are looking at the right campus, you're looking at the right session, which we're doing in this case. This course also has specific timetable instructions, which we're going to come back to in just a second. You can see that it does indeed have lecture sections. This is not surprising. It has a lot of different lecture sections. Now, as we talked about, you only need one of these. And so the idea here, of course, is that there's lots of options because there's a lot of students that want to take this course, and this is to work around schedules. We also can see that this course has tutorials. So it's got a long list of tutorials as well. As we talked about, you need one section of each of the sections available for a course. So we do see it as a tutorial, which means that we also need one tutorial. We scroll all the way to the bottom, we find out that there's no practicals. So we know we need one lecture section and we need one tutorial. So let's just take a quick look at some of the information that we can learn about the course as well, separately from this. So we want to see if there's any prerequisites. There aren't any. We want to see if there's any co-requisites. There aren't any. And we know what the description is. We also want to make sure that we're not taking any of the course's exclusions. Exclusion would mean that if you have already taken the course that's listed, you cannot take this course. And so had you taken Eco 105, which is a less intensive economics course that's more intended for students pursuing political science or international relations, you couldn't take Eco 101 and get credit for it. That's not a problem for us. So we're not worried about our exclusions. We hopefully have taken our recommended preparation. We can see what its breadth requirement is here. You don't need to worry about these elective categories. The only one that matters for you is the BR. And so that's all the core information we need for this. Some information about this stuff that we want to look at. Eventually, it's going to tell you the location. It's still TBA at this point, but that location is going to update to a letter code. And that letter code is going to tell you which building on campus that the course takes place in. In Acorn, it will report for you the actual room number, but on Timetable Builder, it just tells you the room, or sorry, the building. It will list the instructors. At some point in your academic career, you're probably going to start worrying about which instructors teach which courses, but for now, I wouldn't worry about that too much. You can see there's a ton of space and there's no wait lists because obviously nobody's enrolled yet. A couple of things that I want to point out here is that we do want to pay attention to the delivery mode. So in this case, this course is being offered in person. We also want to look at the all-important enrollment controls. So you can look at the explanation here and it breaks it out for you. This is the P enrollment control or the priority enrollment control, which means that during the priority enrollment period, which is the period you're going to first start enrolling in courses, if you are listed in this big group of students that, as long as you have the, what am I trying to say? As long as you are included in one of these groups, you are part of the priority enrollment group and you can enroll in this course. So the most important thing here that you can see is that it includes all students in the first year of study, which means that specifically first year students are in the priority enrollment control for this course. Second year and then up students are not. So you're getting the first crack at this course, even though upper year students are enrolling before you. As of the 30th of July and afterwards, anybody can enroll in this course. That's when the general enrollment period begins, and we'll touch on that at the end of our session. This is an example of a priority control. There's the other big control that you're going to be seeing when you are enrolling in courses is the R control, or the restricted. So this specific section of Eco 101 has an R control, and we can see from the description that it's for commerce students. So this means that were you a first year commerce student, this is definitely the section you'd be enrolling in. You're not a first year commerce student, so you would be looking at other options. The last thing that I want to point out here is that this course does have timetable instructions. You are expected to read and understand what these timetable instructions are. And thankfully, in this case, it's very straightforward. This is really just telling you, depending on the lecture section you join, there are specific tutorials that you can join. So the last thing that I want to point out that Timetable Builder is really, really useful for is that you can use it to build a timetable for yourself. That's the whole point of the builder, of the timetable builder. So let's just say tentatively that we wanted to take Eco 101. You can see that it populates on this list for you. We know because we want to take Eco 101, or sorry, the LEC 0101, that we have to enroll in one of these tutorials. So let's go ahead and go add TUT 0102. And there you go, you've added your course. So this is not the same as Acorn. This is not the same as the enrollment cart. You do ultimately, when you get the option to do this later on, once I think it starts in July, just before your course enrollment, you can start using your enrollment cart, and you actually do want to populate your enrollment cart with the courses you want to take. But you can use the builder as a visual tool to help you make sure that you've plotted your courses in a way that makes sense for you. Does anybody have any questions about this at this point? Okay, hopefully that was clear. Seems like it was. So we can come back to this at the end of the session, depending on how much time we have, but I just want to finish out the rest of the slides that I needed to talk about. So let's head on back to our slides. I mentioned there are different delivery mode types. Obviously, Eco 101 was in person. You will see versions of the other delivery modes. The most common one you're probably going to see is online synchronous, which indicates that you can take the course online, but you do still need to attend specific lecture times. Online asynchronous means that there are no specific times for anything. It's an own-paced course. So just make sure you're looking out for that when you're enrolling in your courses. Generally speaking, all courses are going to be, I shouldn't say all courses, but most courses are in person. So expect that going forward, but you may see some of these online options. So just to make sure that we covered all of these, you should know where to look for the course description. You should know to look for the delivery methods, the prereqs, the co-reqs, the enrollment controls. You should know about enrolling in all of your sections, and you should know to be looking for timetable instructions. There are a couple of different versions of the campus map that you can find. I like this particular version that I've linked. It looks a little bit goofy, but it highlights all of the buildings with their building codes. And so you can use that as a resource to help you figure out where your classes are located. The university is of the opinion that you can get across campus in 10 minutes, and that's why we operate on what is called U of T time, where lectures start and tutorials and all of their activities start 10 minutes after the hour. It is pretty hard to get across campus in 10 minutes, particularly in the middle of winter. So if you are scheduling courses back to back, you should be mindful of where the buildings are. Okay, I've already asked for questions and I didn't have any, so let's just move on to the last section of my slides, and that should be keeping us right on time. So just a review, hopefully you've realized that you need to think a little bit about your programs, and hopefully you have a better idea of what you're expecting to do with your courses at this point. Hopefully you have some thoughts on what sort of electives that you would like to take, and then everything's going to go smoothly and you're going to graduate in 4 years or 5 or 6 or 20 if it takes you that long. So as we talked about, hopefully you're going to use the timetable builder to make a little schedule for yourself, and to make sure that you don't have any conflicts, to make sure that you're weighing your days appropriately. Once you've set that up on timetable builder, the thing that you're going to want to do is load all of those courses into your enrollment cart on Acorn. If you're not clear on how to do that, there's a really useful resource. It's called Acorn How To. It's in this link here, and Guyana's included it in the chat. You can use the enrollment cart to set up all of the courses you intend to add before your enrollment time that's going to be taking place on the 17th of July. It's a really, really good idea to do this, because with the enrollment cart set up, when your enrollment time comes on the 17th, at the very minute that you're able to enroll, you can click just one single button and all the courses in your enrollment cart you will be enrolled into. It's really, really helpful. So I really strongly recommend you do that. When that time comes and that minute arrives on the 17th, which you're going to learn what minute that is on the 1st of July, but it's going to take place on the 17th of July. You're going to log in the very minute you can because you're competing with literally thousands of students. Don't overload your request or your browser with requests because you will lag out. So be careful, don't do that. You're hopefully just going to enroll straight from your enrollment card. If you haven't set that up, enroll in the most important courses first. You very well might end up on some wait lists. And the last thing that I want to mention is you may encounter the e-enrollment control. This is usually an upper year priority control or an upper year enrollment control. But if you do encounter it, it means that departments add you to the course. I think this does happen with the Vic 1 and the Trend 1 courses. So just you will not be able to add those courses yourself. The department's going to do it. So just leave space for them. If you do end up on a wait list, they're pretty intuitive. You will join a wait list. There's a stack of students and you join the queue. If somebody drops the course, the queue goes down by 1. If you are the last person in the queue and somebody drops the course, you join the course. Acorn will tell you by email. Those wait lists do count against your course load for the term. During the priority enrollment period, you can only have 5 courses. And during the general enrollment period, which starts on the 30th, you can have 6 courses. So be mindful about wait lists. Wait lists close on the 11th of September, which is about a week and a half into classes. So you can stay on those wait lists and hope that you get into the course. But if you do get in, you have to be prepared to catch up. As a rule, upon enrolling in the course, if it's relatively early in the enrollment period, if you're within 10% of the course size, odds are fairly good you'll get in. It's never a guarantee, and it's definitely not a good idea to join within 10% of a course when the course is starting tomorrow. So try to use your good sense. Sometimes waitlists are not worth the trouble, so you should be considering some backups that you can take instead. So as we talked about, you're going to start off on that 17th July period. You're going to be in the priority enrollment period. That's going to be when, if you have the priority for a course, you can enroll in it. But if you don't have that priority enrollment control, you cannot join the course. As of the 25th of July, those priorities go away. During this period, you can have 6 courses a term. And this is a good time to add wait lists or hope to have courses that you weren't able to get into before. There is no enrollment at all on the 24th of July, the 29th of July, or the 5th of August. On the 6th of August, you can start adding UTM and UTSC courses. I don't think you should be doing it as a first-year student, but just bear in mind that is an option that's available to you. And do bear in mind that you can also continue to add and change your first year or your fall term and full year courses all the way up until the 15th of September. So there's lots of flexibility well into September. Starting in July with your course enrollment is not setting your course load in stone. You can always change it later on, even after you've been in a course for a couple of weeks. As a piece of information, you can drop the first drop deadline, which is for your fall courses, is on the 11th of November. So you really have a ton of time to experience your courses and make decisions before you have to be 100% committed to them. Okay, just a couple of quick good to know items. You can, so in order to change the lecture section of a course that you're in, so let's say you were in lecture 0101 for Eco 101 and realized that wasn't going to work for your schedule, you have, in order to change that lecture section, you have to drop the course and add a new lecture section, which means you do have to wait list if there's a wait list. So if you are considering changing any of your lecture sections, make sure that there aren't wait lists for the section you want to switch to first or next. You should also know that departments don't stop you from joining courses that you don't have the prerequisites for. You're going to be able to join them. You're still expected to know you're not supposed to be in those courses. And so ultimately, the departments will do their prereq check and they will kick you out of courses you don't have the prereqs for. So don't bother joining them. It's just not a smart thing to do. You also definitely should not enroll in conflicts. Acorn won't stop you from doing that. Don't do it. I mentioned the credit no credits before. The late withdrawals are an opportunity to drop courses even after the drop deadline. We won't bother talking about that in great detail at this point, but just remember that that's an option for you. And lastly, you're going to hear a little bit about Degree Explorer. It is a useful tool, but it's not very useful in first year. It's great once you have programs in your second year. Last slide that I have, which is the sort of annoying, sad one, which is you have to bear in mind that now that you're a university student, you have more responsibility than you've ever had before as a student. It is your responsibility to read all publicly available information emailed to you, information pertaining to your study plan, and information about payment and finances. It's your responsibility to know prereqs, co-reqs, exclusions, and conflicts. It's your responsibility to know dates, deadlines, and course enrollment rules. And it's your responsibility to realize when you don't understand these things or you don't know these things and you need help. And that's when you can reach out to us for that help. So I'm just going to leave this slide here just because it's got some important dates. I'm sure you know them already, and a very useful link to where to find more of those dates. So that leaves us, I think we're at the very end here. We've got some time, thankfully, so we can just go over questions. If anybody wants to review the timetable builder or look at anything specific on the academic calendar, I'm more than open to it. We've got about 5 minutes in our session left, and then we're actually on break up until 12:30. So I will stick around and I can answer questions up until that time. So Ariel, I do see you have a question here. You have to enroll in 2 separate blocks for the same class for lectures versus tutorials. So yes, you do need 2 separate things for a course because you need 2 separate sections, right? The tutorial and in the example that we were using here, the tutorial and the lecture are both mandatory sections for the course. You need one of each. And so yes, it will have 2 separate blocks in your schedule. If you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. Feel free to unmute and ask. No, they don't, Ariel. So you are just, this course, Eco 101, is going to earn you a half credit. And in order to earn that half credit, you have to participate in both the lecture and the tutorial. Does anybody want to perhaps look at a specific program that they're curious about? Or does anybody want to look at a specific course that they'd like to enroll in?
Can we look at political science, please?
Yeah, for sure. So that's a popular choice. So there are different levels of the political science programs. Let's just look at the major as our example. It looks like it's complicated, but it's not especially complicated. So this is an example of a limited enrollment program. There's no language here that indicates that there's a variable minimum grade average or that it's competitive. So this tells us that you just have to meet the minimum requirements and you will for sure be admitted as long as you request the program. So they list 2 different options for students that have completed less than 4 credits, which is obviously us in this case as first-year students. You can either do 1 credit of any of these 4 courses and get a 65 in each of them, or you can do a half credit in that same list and then a half credit from any of these other listed courses. And there's the Monk 1 courses, there's the Trend 1 courses. So this is a position, one of the rare positions where a 1 program or a seminar course is actually going to be relevant to your program requirements. But that's how you would get admitted into the political science major. Any other questions about this piece? Okay, seems like we're good. Kaden, if a social science student, I'm interested in enrolling in life sciences, I won't be able to do so. Oh, great question. So how about, let's go take a look. So we'll go back to the timetable builder. Let's go look at a core life science course, which is Bio 120. So if you wanted to take, technically speaking, you could, as a student that's admitted into the social sciences, you could absolutely take the courses that are required to get into any of the science programs you want to take, enroll in those science programs, and ultimately graduate with those science programs. And were you to graduate with science programs, you'd have the option of graduating with an honors Bachelor of Science rather than an honors Bachelor of Arts. The big thing that you're going to be encountering for these core first-year life science courses, the bio courses and the chemistry courses, is that they are going to have, like with Eco 101, enrollment controls. And this is an example specifically, if you look at this, where it says all students in the first year studies life sciences. So this is indeed the case that during the priority enrollment period, life science admission stream students will get the first crack at this course. You can, however, enroll in it starting on the 25th of July. So hopefully you don't end up getting in a wait list. And you could do the same, it'll be the same thing for chemistry. I think it's the same thing for physics, because physics has the math and physical sciences admission stream. So that's what that would look like for you. I would also point out that this is an example of a course that doesn't have tutorials, but it does have practicals. And so similarly, you're going to need one of each. Tallulah, for example, if I don't pass the wait list and enroll in Eco 101, how can I finally enroll in an economics major in the second year? So great question. Definitely a bit of a complex answer, but the short of it is that you do need to enroll in some programs at the end of your first year. If you don't meet the requirements to get into the programs that you want at the end of your first year, you have to enroll in backup programs. And so that might end up looking like you're taking open enrollment programs. Sometimes those backups are actually just placeholders because you're going to try to take the courses you need to get into the program you want during the second request period for the program, which happens after the summer session. And so usually students will take courses in the summer and try to apply for that second request period for programs that they want. It's not impossible to join programs even later than that. You can change your programs at the end of every year of study, except for the year you're graduating. But academically, it does get quite complicated for a variety of reasons. So for the time being, let's just assume you're going to get into the courses that you need for your first year, in your first year to get into the programs you want. And let's just assume that's going to work out for you. If it doesn't, that's a time to have a meeting with us and have a conversation later in the year. Any other questions, or does anybody want to look at any other programs or courses? Iris, if I want to do a double major, do you have to enroll in both of those programs? Yes, of course you do. Yeah. So if your plan is to do a double major at the end of your first year, you will enroll in both programs. So were it the case that you wanted to do, let's say, I don't know, a biology major and a political science major, you would be enrolling in the courses you need for both programs. So you need to make sure that you have all of the political science courses for your political science major and the chemistry and the biology courses for the biology major. And then at the end of your first year, you'd enroll in both. Tallulah says, sorry, I mean, if my Wi-Fi or something blocks me from choosing courses on the 18th, how can I successfully enroll? Oh, I see. So your enrollment period starts on the 17th, but then it continues to be open all the way up until the course enrollment actually closes later on in September. So the answer to that is you should enroll as quickly as you possibly can after your enrollment time. If you miss your time, it's really ill-advised to miss your time. So do your utmost to not have Wi-Fi issues. You should connect from a computer with a LAN connection if at all possible. But should you miss your opportunity to enroll at your enrollment time, you can continue to enroll all the way up until courses close. Okay, any last questions?
If you're using the timetable builder and you press the add course to the plan and you let it make it your own timetable, does that put in the timetable instructions into consideration, or should you go back and make sure you're filling all of those out too?
That's a good question. I believe that usually catches it for you, and we can use this as an example. So let's just remove this and pretend we don't have that tutorial. So we are in lecture 0101 with a specific set of tutorials. Oh, this one isn't queued for this. So some courses will gray out the sections that you're not supposed to be in, but some won't. So this is a great example of that responsibility piece that I was talking about before. You need to make sure that you read this carefully and you enroll in the right tutorials. Okay, and you want to take a look at the IR requirements. So yes, let's go ahead and do that. It's very common for students to try to get into international relations as their first choice and then have political science as a backup. So that's a very popular configuration. So we'll look at the major. This does look a little complicated, but again, it's not really all that complicated. So Unlike political science, it does have this variable minimum grade average piece listed, so we know that this is a competitive program. It says that we need our Eco 101 and Eco 102 with the minimum grade of 63, and then we need 1 credit across this list of courses, any 1 credit with a minimum grade of 70% in both courses. Unlike cinema studies, they don't tell us anything about the minimum grade required. And I will tell you, IR tends to be fairly competitive. So that minimum grade of 70 and that minimum grade of 63, that is absolutely not a competitive grade. You're going to need much better than that in order to get into these programs. Your question, is it too late to apply to certain ones? The answer is yes, unfortunately. The applications-based ones, Vic, Trin, and Monk, their application period is already closed, so you won't be able to join those. Any other questions? Okay, guys, so it's 12:24. You are expected to be joining the, we're currently in break, and then there's the Money Matters session at 12:30 with my colleague Daniela. So you have 5 minutes, so you feel free to leave the room, and then do make sure to join back into the presentation and the orientation at 12:30. I'll linger for just a couple more minutes if anybody wants to speak to me separately, but I hope this was useful to you. And do remember there's going to be a recording so you can refer to it back later. And lastly, I just want to put this on the, there is the email for the registrar broadly. That's the email that I look at every day. So if you do have any other questions, you know how to reach me.